When I was around 17, I'll admit I was quite idealistic, but nonetheless, I had this idea at the time. It was sort of my working model of how to most optimally interact with the world then and there, and also moving forwards indefinitely into adulthood. And the idea was that if one, but more specifically, if I were able to maintain a sense of childlike enthusiasm that I appeared to possess at the time, in tandem with a sort of inner strength and resolve that it also, at the time, seemingly cultivated, the two together would ensure that I was some sort of unshakable force. I was a force for something good, and that I would I think you get the idea. And yeah, somewhere along the line that sort of fell by the wayside. And if I try and kind of recall something of what the timeline of that was, that dissolution of that steadfastness within that state it was maybe a year or so. Kind of unfavorable life circumstances presented themselves. Moving to a new city, different experiences and other aspects of life, growing older, increased responsibilities, and so on. And a cynicism crept in, a pessimism crept in. Some would say it was a realism that crept in, but I think in any situation humans are in, if they possess a certain level of self-consciousness in other domains, in other aspects of their life, if they are entertaining or engaging with a false belief, they're acting from a place of falsehood, of bad faith, then some aspect of themselves is going to know very well that that is the case. There's going to be this, what I believe it was Freud referred to as the fetishist split, this simultaneous knowing and not knowing, possessing knowledge and also lacking knowledge of what is occurring. The two are at play simultaneously. And in my case, I would say that, from that period of time till now, so well over a decade, there's been a knowledge of the fact that this cynicism, this pessimism, this bitterness is not entirely reflective of experience, that in some way it is It's at once an armor and something that's adopted out of a sense of obligation to, as Ephesus would put it, perhaps, the victims of this experiment, of this game of life, for to sort of parade around with a smile on one's face, to be positively giddy in the midst of immeasurable degrees of suffering, of misery. It seems somewhat unbecoming of one. It's rather uncouth, disrespectful, and so on. So I can see that something of that has been at play. To not allow myself to bring forth that which is within me, right? That which is, on a deep level, what I perceive myself to be. In many ways, there is still this child, this, not the child, but the enthusiasm of the child, this purity, this ray of light emanating from a deeper, greater, abundant source of the very same thing. Partially why there are many reasons why I perceive this to be the case, but just in, I suppose, around the same time as I was entertaining these ideas, around the age of 17, when I sort of swore this vow to myself, with myself. I remember, my walks around the town or wherever else I happened to be, looking at people, observing people, seeing, how people carry themselves, they're observing their demeanor and so on. And, most people seem kind of forlorn and downcast, dejected, sort of bearing this scowling grimace upon their countenance. But, there were some people sort of that punctuated that general rule, adorning as they did upon their faces a smile, a beaming smile, emanating joy, right? Maybe it was just, and maybe the reason for that was just over something, remarkably trivial, right? It wasn't coming from some deeper fountain of light or whatever, as I've alluded to. But nonetheless, it was present, it was observable, and I kind of thought about it in my head at the time that, there was Um, the view of society was kind of seemingly that, there was something, I don't know, wrong with these people, right? There was something off about them. They were perhaps they were crazy in some way, right? Just to be walking around sort of smiling to themselves, right, for apparently no reason whatsoever. And maybe or not, it was for no reason whatsoever, but thinking about it now, thinking about these things, I think that there's something to this smiling for no reason whatsoever, of bringing forth this joy, if it is within one, into the world for no reason whatsoever other than to just bring it into the world, to present it for its own sake. The Buddhists say something about this, right? Something like, be joyful at all times in one's interactions, be always smiling, engage, serenely and joyfully with the sufferings of the world, or something like that, right? To sort of paraphrase it, the saying, the truism, right? Just thinking about it, it seems it's the most, I don't know, it's one of the most controversial, kind of rebellious, revolutionary things perhaps one can do, right? To be joyful without cause. Because of course, one can engage with a very superficial kind of quote-unquote happiness, right? That results from, I suppose, these very fleeting sort of dopamine hits that are elicited with engaging with worldly things, right? Material things, sort of the reward one receives in return for offering themselves as a blood sacrifice to this realm, right? To put it in some kind of poetic way. And that's all very superficial and fleeting, and doesn't necessarily possess the same degree of profundity as kind of what I'm trying to point to here. This joy without cause comes from not one's interactions with this world, but from a deeper place, from within one. And so it is sort of and it is not able to be corrupted also by the things of this world. It's independent of it. This is I suppose, to many people's chagrin, perhaps listening to this, as I know many people don't like the Christ content. This is sort of what Christ was getting at, right, with the do not lay up your treasures where moth and rust corrupt. Do not seek your joy, your contentment your bliss in the things of this world, all that is transient and perishable by its very nature. Find it in a deeper place. Find that place. Where is that place? Where is that timeless, eternal place? And what is its nature? My proposition is that it's the very nature of that which one is, not on the level of the world, of perceivable things, but on that more so fundamental level. And perhaps many of you will have no idea of what I'm talking about at all when I say that, but those of you that do, if you know, you know, right? It's that which underlies the all it is. It's that which looks and also that which looks back. It sort of envelops itself. Yeah. It's, yeah, the kingdom that is not of this world. Yeah, I think there's something that's very dangerous and threatening about that, right? You know, of course, and if we were to take the historicity of the Christ story, for example, as being entirely accurate, and if indeed this was the thing that he was pointing to, right? It was so dangerous that they had to terminate him, take him out of circulation. The rulers, the empire, and of course that empire never ended, right? It's still here, still seeking to keep people locked into this matrix of duality, of the binary, the black and the white, on and off, light and dark. I suppose one of the best ways, if anyone has any doubts here about this, I'm sure a large amount of people probably will. One of the best ways, and I think, you know, it sort of applies to more or less anything, right? The best way to really grasp this is to experience it for oneself. Maybe not on a, if not, you know, for oneself, coming from within oneself, but to perceive it coming from another person who's exhibiting this of what I'm pointing to, this joy, this love, right? I suppose I would say, right? Without reason, other than for its own sake, that comes from some place beyond the perceivable world. And it has a sort of uncanny quality to it for that very reason. This uncanny giddiness, sort of almost psychedelic aspect to it, this consciousness altering quality. And yeah, so to perceive that in another, right? To bask in that, the emanation of that from another. There's something so as I said, extremely uncanny and sort of consciousness altering within that experience of seeing that in another. Someone that's embodying this sort of very awakened Christ-like energy that the skeptic in one, the skeptic that is sort of society tries to foster within one, this sense of cynicism and so on. This stern-faced sort of scientific arrogant attitude, right, towards these sort of claims, towards these sort of attitudes. Encountering this, of what I'm talking about, very quickly sort of dispels all of that. I found, anyway, in my experience, to be in the company of someone that really is engaging in unconditional love, that really does not expect anything in return whatsoever, because they already have everything within themselves. It's extremely disorientating, especially if you are coming from this place of skepticism and this kind of aloofness, this scientifically rooted arrogance and incredulity. It connects with that spark of that same thing that is within yourself, if it is within yourself. It illumines that and makes you wish that you could begin to emanate the same from yourself, and realizing that you very well can. It's just a question of choosing what master you will serve, right? Again, to sort of draw on biblical sayings, quotations, phrasings, or whatever. I also kind of like trolling the people that I don't know, get all squirmy when the use of that sort of rhetoric, because it points to the same things as Buddhism, and yeah, it points to the same things as Buddhism, and most people have no problem with Buddhism, right? It's just maybe they were hurt by Christianity, and yeah. I'm sorry if that was your experience, but there's a lot of wisdom to be found in that tradition, in the words that are attributed to this Christ creature. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say about that. I think I sort of captured something of the essence of it, of this eternal smile and the very real its reality and the reality of the possibility of one inhabiting that space and bringing it forth from oneself into the world for no other reason than for its own sake. Okay, thanks for listening.